of yesteryear. Now, it's a special edition today. We happen to be on the 1st of Iyar. It marks the Hilula of a famous rabbi, very much connected to Amsterdam, to various other countries all over Europe. Also very much connected to the Sephardi community, albeit he was Ashkenazi. His name was Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch Ashkenazi. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Now, he was born in English year 1658, and he passed away around the time period of 1718. There's an opinion that says he was born in the year 1656, but be as may, he was a really, really great rabbi. He was known as Hacham Tzvi, I think after his sponsor of the same title, and would serve as a rabbi in Amsterdam. What's interesting is that Hacham is the terminology we use with regards to many of the, let's say, the more Oriental rabbanim. So he liked to use that title, it was reported over. Now, he's famous to have been, let's say, a resolute opponent of the followers of the, let's say, Shabtai Tzvi. And he had like a very, very, busy career in of itself. He visited many, many different countries, including England, and he was very, very highly influential, and his responsa and various books are seen at a very, very high level. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born in Moravia. This is, I think, in, let's just say, the east of the Czech Republic, respectively. And some people would say Gross Messerich. I think that's also in the Czech Republic areas. I think that specific area itself has 12,000 inhabitants in modern day. His father's name was Jacob Wilner, who was a famous person, I think, quite well known over there. He was descended from a well-known family of scholars, a grandson of Rab Ephraim Cohen, who I think in turn was the son-in-law of the grandchild, Rab Eliyahu Baal Shem of Chelm, really a famous rabbi. He spent most of his childhood in Alt-Ofen. Obviously now it's considered Budapest in Hungary, where his grandfather would serve as a rabbi over there, and he was tutored by his father and grandfather. He later went to Salonika. Remember, we spoke about Salonika in Greece, that had like a really, really great Torah community over there, and he would attend the school of Rab Eliyahu Kobo. Remember, we've spoken about the Kobo rabbinic dynasty, especially from Greece, respectively. I think we did a video on that. And he would devote himself, let's just say, within regards to Sephardic methods of Torah study. He was very, very into that. He also witnessed, say, the impact the Shabtai Tzvi movement had on the community, and it would significantly, let's say, influence his career. Upon his return, he would stay sometime, was probably reported over till around 1679, at Constantinople, where his learning and, let's just say, made a great, let's say, impression. He became known by the Sephardic title for Rabbi as Chacham, people will call him. Let's say an honorific, let's say, title in of itself, and I think that would carry him through his life, because naturally many people will know him as the Hacham Tzvi. Shortly after his return to Alt-Ofen, this was, I believe, in modern day Budapest in Hungary, he married into a very prominent local wealthy family, it was reported over. Now, he would visit there and be part of various different places. I believe in 1686, Alt-Ofen was invaded by the Austrian army, and Rab Ashkenazi's young wife and his daughter, really sadly, was killed by a cannon shot. He would actually flee, becoming separated from his parents. I believe they were taken captive, it's reported over, by the Prussians, and he would go to Bosnia, and over there he received, let's say, an appointment as Rabbi of Sarajevo. Over there he remained in that city until 1689, in which he resigned. Yes, to say, maybe for different reasons, we're not too sure on, and he would then leave for Germany. Right? So remember, he's going from country to country. He's been in the Czech Republic, in Hungary, in Greece, and now he's spending a point in time over here, Constantinople, and now in Bosnia, and now he's going to Germany. Many, many different countries he's making his imprint on over here. He will go to Berlin, and he married Sarah. Interesting enough, and I think she was a daughter of another famous person, chief rabbi, I believe, of the area of Altona in Hamburg. His name was Rab Meshulam Zalman Miles Newmark. I believe. Now, it will be under the advice of his father-in-law. He would go in 1690 now to Altona, another place that you can see is really making a huge impact, where the leading members of the congregation founded a study house and installed Rabbi Ashkenazi as a rabbi. His yeshiva became celebrated, let's just say, and various different Talmudim assembled from all parts to hear him. But his income as rabbi, I think, was reported of not that great. It was 60 thalers, I believe, annually. So obviously living expenses was a lot, and he would go after various different business pursuits while he was doing that. It was reported of he would work in jewelry. And sadly, his father-in-law passed away, and this obviously had a huge impact on his life. And I think he was very close to the Jewish community over there, and I think there was a great amount of unity. And he would later on, I think, share a position in the pulpit as the head of the rabbi with another rabbi over there. And there was, I think at that stage in time, he would later on, I think, come what, 10th of January, 1710. This would have been possibly 20, remember, it was 20 years ago he started the job in Altona. He received a letter of appointment to the chief rabbinate of the Ashkenazi congregation in Amsterdam. Over there, he would receive a free residence, as reported over, an office, and a salary of 2,500 Dutch guilders, or guilders, I hope I pronounce it correctly. I think was considered like a very good sum of money. And Rabbi Ashkenazi renounced, I think, the perquisites of his office, such as fees in civil suits, in order to maintain his independence, and accepted the high position only upon the condition that under no circumstance was he to be required to subordinate himself to the congregation, or to be, let's say, obliged to receive gifts, and that he should be permitted to preserve absolute freedom of action on all occasions. Apparently that was his conditions. This was reported over. I think something like this I think that's actually quoted over in, I think Louis Ginsburg wrote something, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 1901 to 1906, within regards to this. Okay. Yeah, so he would come to Amsterdam over there, and from the beginning, in Amsterdam, there was a bit of hostility. Also, it's reported over. I think at that point in time, Aaron Pollock Gokes, indeed saw the difficulties with the directors that had like some effect, let's just say, and. I believe, come what 26th of May, 1712, it's reported over, it was decided to dismiss the chief rabbi at the end of the term, 3 years, mentioned in his letter of appointment. Rabbi Ashkenazi announced that he would not, under any circumstance, accept this dismissal, which he regarded as unjust. And I think this would actually result in, let's say, various difficulties. And I would recommend everyone to look about that specific incident. Now, what's famous over here was something we've actually spoken about, I believe, on various occasions before. It was reported over on the 30th of June, 1713. There was a man of the name Nehemiah Chayon, who was a rabbi, a Bosnian Kabbalist, if I'm not mistaken. And I had very close connections to Rabbi Tzvi, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll recommend everyone to learn more about the history about him. He arrived in Amsterdam in 1713, on that date in June, and requested permission of the Portuguese congregation to circulate his writings, which had been published at Berlin. Rabbi Ashkenazi thought, let's say, Nehemiah Chayon was an old enemy of his from Sarajevo, it's reported over, and Salonika, and at once requested, I think, there was another rabbi, Rav Solomon Ayalon, who was, I think, the Hacham of the Sephardic congregations in London and Amsterdam. I think he was also a follower of Rabbi Tzvi. This was reported over. I'm actually reading here from Wikipedia. So everyone I would verify any information on this and learn more about it. So he once requested of Rav Solomon Ayalon, who happened to be the Hacham of the Portuguese congregation over there, not to accord, let's just say, patronage to the stranger who was unfavorably known to him. Rabbi Ashkenazi believed himself justified in making this demand, as a Portuguese congregation and its rabbi had, from the beginning, treated him most courteously, and had already, during his time at Altona, reportedly sent him sent to him from the Sephardim of Hamburg, Amsterdam, and London religio-legal questions for his decision. Now, Nehemiah Chayun was called on, let's just say, from Rav Ashkenazi personally, and made an explanation, whereupon the rabbi retracted his accusation, stating that it was a case of mistaken identity. I think, meanwhile, several members of the Portuguese congregation had submitted Chayon's writings to the judgment of Moses, Rav Moshe Hagiz, very famously. He himself happened to be a messenger from Jerusalem. At that point in time, he was staying in Amsterdam, and immediately discovered, let's say, their Sabbatian principles and tendencies, and gave, let's say, a warning, an alarm. He also called the attention of Rabbi Ashkenazi to the dangerous doctrines published in the, let's say, famous book of Nehemiah Chayon's book, whereupon the rabbi again warned the directorate of the Sephardim congregation not to support the author. So at that point in time, it seemed like there was some support for Nehemiah Chayon from the Sephardi community over there. Rabbi Ashkenazi rejected a proposition to designate the objectionable passages and declined to act as a member of a committee of investigation because he did not regard, let's say, Rav Solomon Eilon, the rabbi of the Sephardim, as a competent authority on such questions. Thereupon, a fierce contention ensued, during the progress of which Hagiz fought valiantly besides Rav Ashkenazi. Now, there was a number of pamphlets were issued by both sides. I think this really caused a lot of friction among different communities, in which the contestants indulged in the most, let's say, it got heated against each other. And come what 23rd of July, 1713, Rav Ashkenazi would put Nehemiah Chayun under a cherem, a ban, because the investigating committee appointed by, let's say, the Sephardi heads over there didn't make yet its report, so he took action over there. But I think because of this measure, let's say he did, Rav Ashkenazi and Rav Moshe Hagiz were subjected to various different attacks. And it got very, very, let's say, bitter to some specific degree it was. But we don't want to go too much into this at the moment to speak about that. And I believe it was reported over that publicly there was an announcement in the synagogue that Chayon was to be exonerated from every suspicion of hearsay. And on the following day, a public reception was tendered him at the synagogue, on which occasion unparalleled honor was shown to him over here, which obviously, I think later on, everyone realized, if I'm not mistaken, I'd listened to a class on this recently, that, obviously Hacham Tzvi was 100% correct, if I'm not mistaken. But this controversy became very fierce to say, and it became very, very tough situation over there. And I really recommend to watch that. So because he placed Chayun in ban over there, I think then through a Christian advocate, the directorate again summoned Rav Ashkenazi to appear, I think in November 1713, on 9th of November, and he would refuse. And Rav Moshe and Rav Moshe Hagiz were put on a ban under the Portuguese community. So Rav Ashkenazi was temporarily placed under arrest in his own home, I think by municipal authorities who had been influenced against him by Eilon and the Portuguese leaders. And the whole matter came, I think, let's just say, really, really did abrupt over there. I think he would leave Amsterdam because of this over there. And I recommend everyone to look more onto this specific topic. But eventually he would leave, I believe, for London. He resigned his office and he went, I think, in the beginning of 1714, and from Amsterdam, Rabbi Ashkenazi did, and I think possibly secretly he would go. And I think he had the help of Solomon Levi Norden Lima, and I think he would leave his wife and children at Emden and would proceed to London at invitation of the Sephardic congregation of that city. So the Sephardic community did treat him very warmly in other places. We're talking about Amsterdam, the issue was. And I think it was, I think in 1705, previously 9 years before, he was invited to pronounce a judicial decision concerning the orthodoxy of the Rabbi David Niliato, who in a certain sermon had given utterance to allegedly, let's say, some different sort of views over here. We don't want to get too much into this over here. And this did, let's just say, it would have come for those reasons. Now, I think Rav Simcha Cohen Rapport in 1717 passed away, Rabbi Ashkenazi was called as Rabbi to Lemberg. Lemberg, I believe, is situated in Lviv, if I'm not mistaken, in the western part of Ukraine, and he had a very great reputation over there, both in his congregation and his community. And he sadly passed away 4 months after entering office. Now, he received huge praise from contemporaries all over, and Rabbi Ashkenazi everywhere, let's say, aroused the discontent and hatred of the rich and the scholarly. He had great extensive learning, great intelligence, and great linguistic attainments. This combined to make him one of the, the great, brilliant people of his day. And he would much say he would suffer, some self-deprivation. He didn't want to get assistance and bounty and all of that, and was a great person. Of his works, only a part of his responsa were printed. Untitled Responsa, Hacham Tzvi, I think that was printed in Amsterdam in the year 1712, and has been frequently republished since then. And it's actually interesting. It's reported over there. It's also distinguished by lucidity of treatment and undeviating adherence to the subject. Now, he had many descendants. Now, most famously, he had a son called Rabbi Yaakov Emden, also known as Yavitz, who was a famous leading German rabbi. And he would serve as rabbi of Emden and followed in his father's footsteps in combating, problems with the Sabbatean movement, very much so. Then there was Rabbi Yaakov Yavitz, a grandson of Rabbi Yaakov, who was named for him, served as United States congressman. Now, he would have a daughter of the name Miriam, who was the wife of Rabbi Aryeh Leib ben Saul, or Shaul. He happened to be the rabbi of Amsterdam and the mother of Chief Rabbi Rabbi Hart Leon, interesting enough, and the grandmother of the first Chief Rabbi of the British Empire. Now, then there was another person, Solomon Heschel, I think, who happened to be Rav Ashkenazi's son. David was another one of his sons, I think. Rav David was Abbet Din of Noi Ar Yechev, I think, in the Ukraine. And many. I think he would have a grandson called Rav Meshulam Solomon, who was, I believe, one of the two opposing chief rabbis of the United Kingdom and the rabbi of the Hambro Synagogue in London. Another, Rabbi Yaakov Lorberbaum, I think Yaakov ben Yaakov Moshe Lorberbaum of Lissa, between 1760 to 1832 he lived. He was known in English as Jacob and Jacob Moses of Lissa, and was a great-grandson, he would happen to be, of Rabbi Tzvi Ashkenazi, the Hacham Tzvi, respectively. So he was a really, really great rabbi. It's, I believe, reported he had 16 children, if I'm not mistaken, altogether. Very interesting. And I could learn much more within regards about him. One of the famous opposers of the Sabbatean movement, without doubt. And I recommend everyone to learn about the episode with Nehemiah Chayon and him, with actually, came about in of itself, respectively. And I recommend everyone to learn more about the great rabbi. Don't forget to light candles in memory. It's Aleph Yah is his Hilula. Friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please subscribe now. If anyone is interested in watching these videos, please share the videos to everyone else also. Now remember, this is a big topic today, this whole episode, which I spoke about within regards to Nehemiah Chayon with the Hacham Tzvi, the famous. I would recommend everyone to independently study it, spend a long time to find out what actually happened at that point in time, and that whole period in of itself, to listen to competent Orthodox rabbi and hear more and listen in detail and learn in detail about it. So friends, subscribe to the channel. Wish you all blessings here from Israel, and take care and be well.